using the traditional costing method, we are going to have, or we are going to determine our cost first. So the question is, first of all, determine cost of production. Cost of production. That is the traditional method. An example could be, e.g., we have variable costs. I'm just going to give examples, okay? Variable costs. Our variable costs, we have identified our variable cost as $10. Our fixed costs are going to be another $10. And then total costs, our total cost of production, all right, are going to be 20 to that effect. So after we have determined our total cost, that's when now we are going to have a markup. An example could be markup of 20%, e.g. 20%, markup 20%. All right, what is going to be the markup is equal to 0.2 times our total cost of production. So we have a markup of $4. What does that mean? It means that we are going to sell our product at a price of 24. Selling price, all right. Our selling price is going to be the sum of the T here, $24 is the selling price for our commodity. This is what we have if we are costing products using the traditional method, right? What is the problem of doing this, right? We have reached to the selling price of 24, and we are going to sell this product into the market. Challenge is that the challenge or problem, I'm going to write the notes here, problems, right? The problems of traditional costing methods, All right, what are the problems that we might face if we are going to price our products in this way? What do you think are the problems? Problem number one is that our price may not be competitive, all right? Poor pricing decision. Why? Because we haven't considered the market. So this one is quite of self-centered. We are looking at our cost of production, and then we force the product into the market. So our pricing decision may not be a suitable pricing in the market. Why? Because we might end up losing revenue, losing customers to competitors. Number two, we end up passing inefficiencies to customers. All right, to customers. So we are going to make customers pay for our inefficiencies. Why? Because we haven't scrutinized the variable cost of $10. We haven't scrutinized the fixed cost of $10 here to verify whether we are producing our goods at a very efficient level. That is the problem. We pass inefficiencies to customers, may lead to loss of customers, right? Leads to loss of customers and revenue to competitors. Okay, our competitors, if our competitors do have a lower price, we lose our customers. Now, to curb this problem now of passing inefficiencies to customers, or of determining the selling price using the traditional method, we are now going to look at target costing. So target costing is coming into play to rectify this problem of traditional costing method. So let us then look at target costing in detail here. So first of all, let us look at what is target costing. What is target costing? Right, what is target costing? That is the main question, and everything that we are doing is centered on that. Right, so target costing, if we are to price our goods, our services using target costing, first of all, we need to consider the market. And who is the market? The market is our customers. So if we are to define target costing, we can safely say that it is a market-based pricing approach or costing approach. It is a market-based costing approach. All right. It is a market-based costing approach which derives the selling price from the market. So first thing that you have to understand is that we do not have influence over pricing. That's number one. The price is determined by the customers themselves. So we assume that the customers do know the price that they're willing to pay for the product. So what is it that we should do? We should go to the market, understand what is the price that customers are willing to pay, and the price becomes our selling price for the product that we want to push to the market. All right, so that is target costing. So another item for you to know or understand is that this costing is implemented prior research and development. So if we are to employ target costing in our operations, what is it that we're doing before the product comes into existence? We first of all imply target costing. That is very, very important for us to understand. So why is it that target costing could be of much use if compared to the traditional methods of costing? We are saying about 70 to 80%, about 70% to 90% rather, 90% of a product cost, right, incur at the R&D phase. So majority or bulk of our costs do incur at the research and development phase. Implementation of target costing, implementation of this costing method, target costing helps organizations. Our organizations are going to be helped to design out costs before existence of the product. All right. So that is very key and critical, right? So if we implement target costing, number one, we are going to design out costs. If you happen to have a question, please just feel free to unmute yourself and interject. Okay, right. So about 70% to 90% of a product cost incur at the R&D phase. Implementation of target costing we help organization to design out cost before existence of the product. That is the major advantage of us using target costing as opposed to the use of the traditional methods of costing. Another item is that if we are to make use of target costing, also helps organizations, right, to produce and supply, right? I will explain this later on. And supply, right, the a required product, a required product at a competitive price, okay, at a competitive price, right? So profitability is not a problem if we are to make use of target costing there. Now, let us look at the steps. If we are to make use of target costing, we have steps that we have to follow. So let us look at steps to target costing. To target costing, we have 7 steps that we want to discuss about here. 7 steps to target costing. Type error there. All right. Steps to target costing. Right. Let's get into step number 1. So if we are to make use of target costing, step number 1 is to determine the product specification. The product specifications. All right. So determine the product specifications. What is it that we are talking about? If we want to uh, understand 28 for it to be a better font. Okay, right. Determine the product specifications. So what is it that we do? We get to the market. We interview our customers. So when we interview our customers, we want to understand the exact product that the customers do require. So in other words, we are saying understand the product required by customers, required by customers. What is that specifically? E.g. or i.e., that is to say, features, all right, quality, size, and so forth, etc. All right, if we want to supply, an example could be if we want to make cell phones and supply to our customers. First of all, let us go and meet our customers. We interview our customers. What type of a cell phone do you want? What are the features? The RAM, the ROM, camera, battery size, and etc. So that when we produce the product, it is the exact product that we are going to supply to our customers. Okay, right. I hope you understand this. Please don't hesitate to ask me questions at any given time. Just unmute yourself and say whatever that you want to say so that we move together. Don't allow me to move miles before you ask your question. Okay. Right. Next item, step number 2, is now to set the selling price. Okay, let me just do this. Set the selling price. Set the selling price. Set the selling price. So in other context, they actually make use of determine the SP. All right. You are now going to step number 2. Now, as we have discussed earlier on, the selling price that we are going to set is not the price that we ourselves think of or determine or come up with. We are saying adopt the current market prevailing price, adopt the current market prevailing price. So if we are to sell our product, we don't have influence over pricing. So in other words, this theory is very critical. That's why I'm writing down. The company has no influence over pricing. The company has no influence over pricing. Overpricing. So the price is determined by the market. Who is the market? It is the customers. Okay. So I'm going to have an example here. Let me just expand and put my examples. I'm going to put them in a different color here. All right. So we are going to assume that our customers really do want to pay a price of $18 as their price that they're willing to pay. So we've gone to the market, we've understood that customers do want to pay a price of $18. So the $18 will become our selling price. So step number 3, after we have set the selling price, next step now is for us to understand this. All right, let me just erase those items. Yeah. All right. Step number 3 is now you are going to determine the desired profit. The desired profit. So question is, of this selling price that customers are willing to pay, what is the profit percentage that we want from that selling price of 18, e.g., assuming we want a profit margin of 20%. So our profit margin 20%, we are going to have 20% times 18. So for every item that we are going to sell, we want a profit margin of $3.60. So that's the profit that we enjoy for every sale that we make. Okay? Right? Understood, guys? At least if you say something and it makes our class live, and it guarantees me that you guys are understanding out there. Okay, right. So what does that mean? We enjoy a profit of $3.60 for every sale of $18. Now, step number 4, we want now, this is where the topic is coming from. Step number 4, we are going to say, what is the target cost? So step number 4 here. All right. Okay. Let me just do this. All right. Step number 4. On step number 4, we are going to calculate the target cost. What does that mean? A target cost, from the word target, this is a cost that we target to produce at. Step number 4, calculate the target cost. Target cost, right? A target cost is what we are targeting. So a maximum price, this is a maximum price at which a commodity should be produced at which a commodity should be manufactured or produced at. So this is the maximum price as long as the target cost, as long as our cost is not or is exceeding the target cost, we are not going to produce the product, because if we produce, say, at 17, at a cost that is above this, okay, probably let us quantify the target cost here. All right, target cost. First of all, let us have the formula here of us calculating the target cost. We are saying selling price minus less desired profit. That is the target cost. Selling price minus your desired profit becomes your target cost. So I'm going to quantify that here. The target cost is equal to $80 minus $3.60. So it means that our product is going to be produced at a maximum cost of $14.40 here. All right. Guys, you understand? Are you still there, my friends?
Yes, we
Yes,
understand.
sir.
All
Understand,
right.
sir.
Thank you. Right. The maximum price we should produce our product at is $14.40. So we have to quantify that. But well, since we are targeting at $14.40, what is the current setup? The product is not in existence, remember? Product is not in existence because it is implemented prior research and development here. Product is not in existence. So according to our best estimate, what is it going to cost us to produce such an item? So we are going to make our best estimate. That is an example. We are going to make the best estimate on step number 5. Step number 5, we are going to estimate current existing cost. Current existing course. So according to our setup, if we want to produce such an item, how much does it cost us? All right, that is critical. So you look at the labor. How much is labor in the market? Okay. Number 2, how much is material? Right. We have different types of materials and etc. What are the activities? Where to hire machines? What are the variable costs, variable overheads? What are the fixed overheads? And then you bunch all those costs. You make the best estimate. And well, you will find out that if we want to produce this product, we are going to produce the product at probably $15.10. What does that mean? We have exceeded the cost that we're targeting, or we have missed the target. So what does that mean? It means that we should not produce. So if we are not going to produce, well, let us quantify the difference. So the difference between existing cost and target cost is called a target cost gap. So calculate the target cost gap or the cost gap here. So our cost gap is the difference between existing costs and the cost that we are targeting. We have a cost gap of 70 cents per item. So formula here is existing costs less target cost. So we have to quantify this. Our costs are above what we are targeting. If we produce at $15.10, it's going to eat up the profits of $3.60. Why? Because we can't push up the price. The price is fixed at $18. So what do we need to do? We need to scrutinize our operations so that we push down the cost per unit to $14.40. Then a student might ask, what if the estimated current costs are $14, which is less than $14.40? Is there a negative cost gap? The answer is no. We only have a cost gap if our estimated costs are exceeding the target. If they fall below, it is a bonus to the organization and there is no cost gap. Now, this gap needs to be closed off. So, step number 7, we are going to suggest ways to close the cost gap. Suggest ways to close the cost gap. To close the cost gap. So our cost gap of 70 cents needs to be closed off. All right. We are going to make suggestions. What is it that we should do in order for us to close this gap? All right. Question here. I'll pause here and ask if there is anyone with a question, and if not, we continue. We are now closing the gap.
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
Just a quick one. In terms of like the existing costs, we don't have to know what contribute to it, right? Or is there a calculation? Maybe I missed that part.
Okay. What is going to contribute the existing costs is the current setup, like what I've explained earlier on. To say it's an estimate, right? So how do you estimate? You are going to say, okay, how much is labor? We are paying labor of this much. How much is material? We are paying this much. And what are the other activities and what are the costs? This much. What are the fixed costs and other the costs that you incur, probably advertisement and etc. This much. And you bunch those costs. And then probably you divide by number of units and you are going to see that, okay, fine. My cost per unit is $15.10. So the estimate, you can't just have an estimate from Norway. You are looking at the setup of your organization. I'm not so sure if you answered.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right. Question? Any other question? Any other question, my friends? No question? All right. So let us look at ways to close the gap. So the ways of us closing the gap, we look at what we have in an organization. And the most important item that you have to look at is material. So let us look at material. And it, right, reduce cost of material. Cost of material. So I'm going to give this one as a subheading because we have do's and don'ts when we want to reduce the cost of our material. It's not every way of reducing the cost that is acceptable. Some of the ways are not acceptable, some are acceptable. So we have to look at material in detail. So number one, that's A. So let me not put this one here. Right, for a nicer presentation, let me do this. All right, reduce cost of material. How do we reduce the cost of material? We are going to say find alternative, cheap or cheaper suppliers. Can we consider other suppliers with same material? All right. So from the supplier who gave us quotations, is the supplier the cheapest supplier around the market? We have to find alternative cheaper suppliers with the same material. Let me just write same grade because that is very critical. Same grade of material. Right. If we find, that's okay. If we can't find, well, let us look at number 2. Find alternative, cheaper, standard versions of material. All right. If not, can we substitute with another material that is of standard? So the word standard there is quite critical. So we don't have to buy poor quality material. The word standard, please take note of that. It is quite critical. All right. Can we find alternative versions of material which are cheaper and they are of standard? Okay, so what is key here is that let me do this. This is an exam technique. Okay, right. Do not buy cheap or poor quality material. Quality material. Why is it not an alternative of reducing the cost? Why is buying poor quality material not a good item? Right. Why? Anyone to contribute on this one? Why is it that we don't buy poor quality material? Participate, guys.
I want to try, Sam.
Thank you.
I think it will result in poor quality. Also, the results will be in higher wastage.
All right, thank you so much. And that is very, very correct. So if you buy poor quality material, number one, it compromises step number one, the product specifications, the quality of the product is going to be compromised. If you compromise quality of your product, no customer is going to buy the product. That's number one. Number two, cheap things are very expensive. So if you buy poor quality material, results in high wastage. High wastage, more cost. All right, that is very, very correct. Thank you so much, Linda, and that is very correct. So again, do not buy high quality material. Why is it that we don't buy high quality material? Wastage, yeah, compromise quality, right? All right. Why is it high quality material is not also an option if we look at material? Why? Anyone to participate on that one? Right, we want to close the gap and we're going to buy high quality material than the material that we have budgeted for.
Can I try, Sam?
Yeah, yes.
I think since we are trying to reduce the cost gap, if we use the
Yeah.
high quality material, it will widen the cost gap.
Thank you. Expensive, and widens the gap. So, in terms of your theory, when answering questions in the exam, that is key for you to note. All right. That is material. We look at these options and we don't consider these options. Okay. Now, next item is for us to look at another component that is a key in our production process, which is labor. Right? Reduce the cost of labor. How are we going to reduce the cost of labor? All right. Reduce the cost of labor. Number one, hire semi-skilled labor. Semi-skilled labor to complete something that is best, that is basic. To complete basic tasks. All right. So if we want to reduce the cost gap, instead of us hiring a fully qualified chartered accountant to do bank reconciliations and etc., let us take probably someone who is still on their way. Why? Because they don't demand much. If you hire an expert, it is going to widen the cost gap because they are very, very expensive. But well, someone would ask, why not consider trainees? We are saying, do not hire trainees. Why is it that it's not recommended for you guys? You are the owners of the organization. For you guys to hire trainees in order for you to close the cost gap. Why trainees are not required there? Why? Anyone to try? Let's discuss, guys. Let's discuss. For the class to be interesting, we have to be open. We have to discuss. All right. Why trainees are not a requirement here? Yes. Arthur. Marianne.
I think it will lead to high wastages since the trainees are still learning.
Thank you. Right. This, thank you. High wastage leads to high wastage. Why? Because they are still learning. So up next, we'll be looking at the labor learning rates. We will be saying that they still have a high uh, um, a high labor learning rate to say they are still learning. And the instances of making mistakes is so high. So if they make more mistakes, assuming that we are a garment manufacturing company and we hire trainees to cut off the clothes, you see that majority of our cloth is going to be cut into wrong sizes, and this is wastage. We need to buy more and more cloth in order for us to fulfill the orders. So that is not an option. Again, here, do not hire experts. Do not hire experts. What is the problem with experts? Right. Experts are expensive. Yes, of course, it's quality labor, but they are expensive and widens cost gap. This will widen our cost gap. So we are not going to hire our experts. We are not going to hire any experts into as we look forward closing the cost gap. All right. I hope you guys are understanding. Right. Number two is train labor to be more efficient, more efficient. So if labor is more efficient, it means that we are now able to produce faster, more items per hour, and less wastage. Someone who is very efficient is going to do a task very quickly, correctly, and with less wastage. That is very key and critical. This is how we close the cost gap when we look at the cost of labor. All right, another item that we can look at, right? Right, we are going to look at other aspects of us remove non-value adding features, non-value adding features from the product. All right. Remove non-value adding features from the product. Now, if we want to reduce cost by removing non-value adding features, remember, it is not us who determines what is of value into the product. It is the customer themselves. what is it that customers do not mind? For example, if we are making chairs, assuming we make different colors of chairs, but the customer does not mind color. When we buy the cloth for our chairs, some colors are very expensive, some colors are not expensive. So we just buy those colors that are not expensive. Why? Because the customer does not care about color. Our supplier is charging us different prices for different colors. This is an example. Okay. Another thing is what? Y- uh, Use cheaper packaging where possible. So the word where possible is very important. Use cheaper packaging where possible. So it's not every time we should use cheaper packaging. We do have other products where the quality is determined by packaging, e.g., a perfume, bottle of perfume. All right, if you use a cheaper a bottle to package the perfume, it's really hard for you now to convince the customers that this is a genuine and original perfume. So, in that instance, packaging using cheaper materials is not possible, it's not feasible. All right, but with some products, for example, if we look at electrical gadgets, the refrigerator, the stove, cell phones, laptops. There is no need for you to use a very expensive packaging. You can just use very, very cheap plastic, for example, to package the product. As long as the product is original, the customer will not care. All right, another item is number two, produce a standard sized product. Produce a standard sized product where possible, right? Instead of us producing a big product, the bigger the product, the more the material and the more expensive it is. What we need to do here is if the customer is not really worried about size of the product, we can actually produce a small sized product. An example could be a cell phone. If the customer is not worried about big screen, big phone, and etc., as long as the RAM, the ROM, and everything, camera quality, and everything is there, probably the customer may not care. We are not going to we are not going to all right, sorry for the distraction here. Right, we are not going to sell the product if we produce small item, but the customer is worried about size. That is what we are going to do. Another item that can be used for closing the cost gap could be use on websites. All right, let me do this. Right, do activity analysis. All right, so you are going to study the activities that you undertake. All right, in order for you to produce the product. Right, so is every activity adding value? No. So sometimes we might also need to remove non-value adding activities, non-value adding activities. All right, e.g., duplication of efforts. All right. We can remove that if it is in existence. We are just trying to close a gap of a gap of 70 cents. All right, that's it. Sometimes we might be, an example could be, we might be a manufacturing company, but we have different sites where the product passes through in order for it to be a finished product. So can't we just come together and be situated on the same environment so that we don't or we limit the activities where we have fuel and etc loading and offloading. That is another item that we can do there, right? Another item that can be used there, right, is I'm going to bold these ones because they do not have much notes here. All right, they do not have much notes here. We are just going to have one line, one line, one line. All right, negotiate cheaper rentals, negotiate cheaper renters. If you are renting machines, if you are renting the factories and warehouse and etc., you can negotiate so that the landlords will charge lower price. This may not be permanent. It is a temporary measure. Why? Because we do not have control over the price of a rented asset. After negotiating downwards, 6 months, 7 months down the line, the owner may also decide to increase again. So it's a temporary measure. It's not really a permanent measure. Okay. We can also have what we call the tear down analysis. Tear down analysis, right? Let us talk about tear down analysis. So in order for us to produce a product at a lower cost, what do we need to do? We need to study the competitors' price, competitors' product, right? Our product is not in existence, all right? We are now going to make use of the competitor's product that is already trending in the market. We take it, we study it, and we look at the weaknesses and the strengths. So use the product to identify areas of improvement. All right, areas of improvements, e.g., what is it that we are saying, i.e., cost cutting without compromising quality. Right, that is what we could also do in order for us to reduce the cost of a product. So these are the ways, ladies and gentlemen. I'll send through this document after we are done. I'll just make it a PDF and then send through to you if you would want to write down the notes. Okay, right. Any questions so far? So far, so good. Now we have managed to close the cost gap. All right. Question? Guys? Are you still there, my friends?
Yes, following.
Yes, sir.
Oh, the silence so frightening. Hey, the silence so frightening. Okay, hold on a moment. All right. So you see, whatever that we've done from the start up to now, is we have introduced the target costing, all these things. When we look at setting the price, finding ways to reduce the cost gap and etc. This is very, very much useful if we are producing a product that is tangible or a product that is physical. In a case that our product is not a physical product, we are looking at a service industry. We are looking at the service industry. The service industry now is different from a good manufacturing industry, because service industry is dominated by labor, and you can't really identify what is a quality labor, what is the customer is expecting in terms of quality and etc. So we are looking at characteristics of a service industry which makes it difficult to implement target costing. Target costing. So, right. So you'll see that main reason is that a service industry is dominated by labor. So labor is the most important and critical resource in a service industry. All right, so that is what we have. Since we have labor, we are saying it is difficult. So number one, let me just do this. Difficult does not mean impossible. Does not mean impossible. So you see that a lot of guys will just slip off. A theoretical question will come and say it is impossible to implement target costing in a service industry. It is possible, but it is difficult. All right. So what are the characteristics which makes it difficult for us to implement target costing in a service industry? Number one, you would realize that. One, we have what we call heterogeneity. Right, what does that mean? It means that labor is different. It means that labor is variable. Right, Dr. A and Dr. B can never be the same when it comes to how they deliver. Teacher A and teacher B, they can never be the same in terms of how they deliver. So we can't expect these two people to charge the same price. That's why we are saying it's difficult now. So we can't go to the market and say, for example, you are a dentist, right? You go to the market and say, how much does it cost or how much are customers willing to pay for me to remove probably a single tooth? Is that answerable? No, it's not. All right, so labor is different. So another tricky thing, you have a characteristic like is what? Opposite of heterogeneity is what? Homogeneity. So please just take note of that. Number two, no transfer of ownership. No transfer of ownership. You can't transfer ownership from the owner to the customer. If you go to a good manufacturing company, for example, you buy a cake, you get a receipt, you take the cake home. But if you go to the dentist, you get treated. There's nothing that you get home with. The dentist will remain a dentist. You will remain a patient. Even if you go back for a checkup, you still remain a patient. So there is no transfer of ownership, unlike a good manufacturing company. Number three, we are saying it's perishability. A service is perishable. Why? The moment a service is done, being provided to you, it does not exist anymore. It is perishable. It is done. nothing else. All right? Question, so that we move together. Question? All right. Another characteristic. All right. Let's not, I know some of us have read these things. All right. Another characteristic. I just want you guys to participate, okay? All right. If you don't want to, we are looking now at another characteristic, which is intangibility. A service is intangible. All right, intangibility. Intangibility. So something that is tangible, you can actually quantify or state what you want. But for a service, it's not tangible. You don't really know what you want. Of course, you would want a good service, but you can't really express yourself. You can't touch the service and state the features. That is another item that makes it difficult. And another thing is simultaneity. Simultaneity. So simultaneity means what? The moment a service is being provided to you is the moment that you are consuming the service, right? Which is different from a manufacturing company. You can manufacture your product, store them, and sell them one by one. But a service, you need to, the customer needs to be there in order for you to provide that service, right? This is what we call target costing. It comes to an end of target costing. May I please have questions with regards to target costing before I give you one or two questions to look at? One or two questions to look at, and then we'll move on to the next topic. I need to name these sheets so that I continuously share updated versions of this Excel. Right. Question? No question. All right. Let me start off by giving you one question, one tricky exam question. Tricky exam question. All right. In as much as we have done this, this is just a theoretical question. All right. A company produces product P, P. Which one of the following can be used to close the cost gap? All right, I'm going to have two answers, right? From what we have said, they are correct. I'm going to get this one. I'm going to copy this one and paste it there. Answer A, there. That's my answer, A. Right, what is that? A. Then B, I'm going to copy something that we also agree that it is correct. Right. I'm going to copy this one. Copy and paste. All right. Who wants to try? Give us the answer and state why. Answer and state why.
I think the answer is A, to find alternative, cheaper standard versions of the material. Since project B is a tangible good or a tangible product.
All
I
right.
think.
Any different opinion? All right, that is very important because in the scenario here, the product is a tangible product. The product here, this company is producing a tangible product. Therefore, the most critical item of reducing the cost gap in a manufacturing company is material. Labor is critical in a service industry. So, reading and understanding this scenario could make you pick the correct answer here. So if it was a service industry, we could leave A and choose B. B was going to be the correct answer because in a service industry, labor dominates. In a manufacturing industry, material dominates. May I please have a confirmation that you guys have understood this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So just hold on. Just hold on whilst I just find one question for you to try, and then we move on to the next topic. We move on to the next topic. Unfortunately, I haven't um, I haven't really prepared my lecture on time. So let me just find the bank and we look at the question. Please try that question in blue there. Try that question in blue. Drop your answer in the chat box. Just try that one. Drop your answer in the chat box. Right? Can we just try and drop answers in chat box so that we continue to the next topic? Thank you. Try the questions. Try the question. Try question 1, and then we move on to the question 2. Right? More answers, more answers. All right, can we do so that we revise, guys? Question 270, question 270. All right, people are rushing to question 2. What about 1? Ten cost gap. All right. Let's if we are different, it means that. All right, 8, 10, 8. Thank you to those who have tried. All right, I meant 0 cost gap. That's other. For which question? All right, it's okay. Is the question this one? Is it really complete here? Let me check. A margin of a profit margin of 30%. Is it there? Regarding PA, okay, that's not the question. First question. Where is the first question? Let's see. All right. Company A calculates that material, labor, and overhead costs are associated with the product. 40, 25, and 13 respectively. We are required to calculate the cost gap that may exist for product P. This question is, I don't know how I have copied this one, but well, let's move to question 2. I'll then go back to the question and rectify what is missing there. Right, company A has calculated a selling price for a new product P, which is $100. A profit margin of 30% is required to satisfy the company investors. We are required to calculate the cost gap. So this one is quite easy. Selling price, desired profit, then target cost. So this one is quite easy. Right, 100 and equals 0.3 times this. That's the desired profit. So target cost is 70. Let me just check from the chat box to see. All right, 70, 70, 70, 70. So on question 2, I think we all got it correct. Let me see what is missing on this one. Okay, the question is right. If you expected that higher than what is that company A, that's okay. That's question number 2. Let me check on question number 1. There's something I missed there. All right, so the question is quite long. Okay, no, that's okay. Ignore question 1 because it's quite long. I just copied probably the lower part of it. All right, so this one, let me just move it here. Okay, so question to look at, the question that you have to look at is Edward Core. Where do you find Edward Core? Find in question bank. Right, find in question bank. If you can't find it, please let me know so that I can assist you locating it. Edward Core. Right, this one we have concluded. Let us then move on to the next topic, which is labor learning rates or theory of labor. All right, let me just nice my sheet here so that narrow, which is okay. Font size, let me just put at 28 from the previous item. Remove this. All right, theory of labor. Theory of labor. Theory of labor. Right, some would want to call it labor learning rates. Labor learning rates. Learning rates. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to just bold this. Right, the theory of labor or the labor learning rates. What does that mean? This is quite examined more often for your exam. Why? Because it is called a budgeting technique. All right, it is called a budgeting technique. So you can't write an exam without this concept, which is critical. We have to get prepared for this one. This is the reason why we cover it so early, because majority of the coming topics, we are going to look at the theory of labor. So we are going to look at theory of labor. First of all, let us look at the theory of labor just as a story, and we look into detail in terms of the theories that we are going to cover. So this theory rather assumes that if you start doing something for the very first time, the time it takes tends to be quite high. But if you do that task time and again, repetitively, without prolonged rest breaks, the time it takes for you to complete the task tends to fall up until you become an expert. So when you become an expert, the time it takes going forward becomes the same time. Let us have this example. Think of the very first time when you tried to cook sadza. Think of the experience. How was it? But as you cooked sadza time and again, more and more repetitively, the time it took tends to be lower and lower and lower. But now, since you are an expert, the time it takes is equal forever and ever. Why? Because you are now an expert. That is the theory of labor. So the theory of labor, for it to be applicable, we have of all assumptions. So we have assumptions. It to be applicable, we have to look at assumptions. What are the assumptions of theory of labor? Theory of labor assumptions number one, because all right, number one, all right, the task is new, complex, and labor intensive. So you learn from something that is new, something that is difficult, and something that you can do with your hands. All right. That is the first assumption of theory of labor. That's number one. Number two, the assumption is that there are no prolonged rest breaks. If you take a prolonged rest break, you tend to forget. So, in order for you to learn, you should be able to do something time and again and repetitively. So, if you take a prolonged rest break, you tend to forget. Then, number two, there is low labor turnover. There are no high hirings and firings, low labor turnover. That's another assumption. Another assumption to labor learning rates is that labor learns at the same rate. If we are people who are learning, we are learning at the same rate, learns at the same rate. All right, that is it. These are the assumptions of labor learning rate. Now, the issue of learning, let me explain the issue of learning before we look at the theories. Issue of labor learning rates. All right, explained. Let's explain that here before we get into detail. So I'm going to have three scenarios. I'm going to have probably students here. I'm going to have three students, student A, student B, student C. I'm going to have three students, and then before a task, all right, before a task, you have this one 100% to learn. You have 100% things to learn. Everyone, before you study a paper, you have 100% things to learn, all right? And then let us look at learning rate. So the learning rate of these students are different, all right? So the learning rate of A, student A has got a 90% learning rate, B has got an 80% learning rate, and then C has a 75% learning rate. So what is important now is to consider, right, is to consider the time saved by each student, all right, time saved here. That is key. So the time saved, in order for you to complete a task, time saved, is quite important. Assuming that before you learn, it could take you 100 minutes to complete a task, 100. So this student here, a task that was supposed to be to take 100 minutes, they can now finish in 90 minutes. Time saved is 10%. This student is learning at 80%, so time saved is 20%. This student here is learning at 75%, time saved here is 25%. So from the above, I want someone to explain from the above, which learning rate is better? Which learning rate is better? Which learning rate is better?
I think it's 75%.
75%. Why 75%?
Because we are saving more time.
All right, because more time is saved. So the conclusion that we have here, the lower the rate, the learning rate, the better an employee is in terms of what? In terms of efficiency. So a person with a lower learning rate is said to be more efficient. Why? Because they are completing a task in less time than anticipated. Okay. Now, this learning rate, the learning rates that um, we are given here are supposed to be calculated. So how to calculate the labor learning rate? How to calculate the labor learning rate? Labor learning rate. So if we are to calculate the labor learning rate, what is it that we use? So we are calculated, the answer is calculated using, all right, something is wrong here. I'm typing, but it's not popping up. Calculated using Wright's law. So this guy proposed a theory, Wright's law. Wright's law proposed a theory, so that's the theory that we are going to be looking at in detail here. Wright's law. So Wright's law stated what? Wright's law. Let us look at Wright's law. The law states what? And then we are going to make use of that to calculate the labor learning rate. It's quite easy, straightforward. Wright's law, right, states that as cumulative output doubles, comma, cumulative average time falls by a certain percentage up to a time when labor becomes an expert, right? When labor becomes an expert, the learning rate then ceases to exist. Meaning to say what? Labor is now an expert and there is nothing to learn. All right, so right, if you become an expert, there is nothing to learn anymore. Right, so what does that mean? What is critical is that our output is doubling, and then cumulative average time falls by a certain percentage. So that is key. I'm going to highlight what is key. All right, here, this is key. I'm going to put it in red here. It is key for us to understand, and average time, cumulative average time, again, it is key, right? So that is the Wright's law. Let me try and get labor learning rates. Let me try and get a diagram that is drawn already, because with my laptop I can't draw using this one, learning. Okay, learning curve theory. All right, I hope this is going to be visible. Just hold on a moment, guys. All right. The device I have here is not ready. If not, I'll just pause sharing this, and then I share the document I have so that I can explain that using the diagram I have. All right, for the purpose of time, let me just pause. Let me just take this one down, and then I share a document for the purpose of explanation, because I can't snip it. All right, let me try one more time. Okay, that's not a problem. Right, I'm putting this down, and I'm going to present something so that I can explain the issue of doubling. All right, window, here we go. Right, let me know once my screen is visible. I want to explain something here. Okay, someone to confirm if it is visible. Please
Yes, sir.
confirm. Visible?
Yes.
All right. So, if we look at this, diagram here, that is the Wright's law explanation. So I don't know if you can see 60, 120, 180, 240. What does that mean? As cumulative output doubles here. And then the red line that you are seeing, this is cumulative average time. That is represented by the learning rate. So what does that mean? It means that our average time, which is the average time on this vertical axis here. So our average time is falling by a certain percentage. So you still learn up to a time where there is a dot here. I think this is where the learning rate ends. So the cumulative average time is falling up to a certain point when the learning effect ends. So when the learning effect ends, then the time it takes after that is going to be the same. So what happens to the learning rate? Our learning rate then flattens out. It becomes straight going into the future. So any item that you are going to produce from 241 going forward is going to be the time it takes from 241 going forward is going to be the same. So unfortunately here, I failed to draw it manually. I could have drawn it on your Excel, and I have to explain that when we are budgeting, because this is the budgeting technique, when we are budgeting, we don't budget using the time when employees are still learning. We budget using the time it takes to to produce an item when the learning effect ends. So we'll go back into that effect and then we can explain further. But well, let me go back to this. So when calculating the calculation now of the learning percentage, calculation here, calculation of learning rate. Right, so we are going to make use of a table. So tabular approach, that is very key and critical. Right, tabular approach, that is the one that we are going to use. So I'm going to have an example here and a table. Example, right, example and a table. After this, I'm going to bring in, not so sure if I'll be able to do that because so I'll just find ways anyway. All right. Example. Right. Output. So I want output. So the moment you put your output, because output should be doubling. So my output, always output should be doubling. All right. I should have doubling output on this one. Okay. Time taken cumulative average. Let me just do this. All right. Our output should be doubling. All right. Output doubling. And then cumulative total time. All right. Cumulative total time. No. Time taken here. Then cum total. Time taken. Then cum total. We go to cumulative average, cum average time, all right? That is key, right? So I'm going to assume that the time it takes, I'm going to double, it takes to produce first unit, time taken 100. So total time for a single unit is equal to 100 times 1. That is 100. Cumulative average time, you say total divided by 1, which is 100. Now, doubling 1, we double to 2. The second unit took 90 hours. So total is previous total plus the current time taken, 190. Total is to say average is 190 divided by units, you get 95. Fourth unit. Why? Because my output here should be doubling. All right. Fourth unit took 80 hours there. Cumulative total, previous total plus current time taken. That's 270. Average time is 270 divided by 4, 67.5. That's how I have populated my table here. So question is, using information above, what is the learning rate? What is the learning rate? What is the learning rate? All right. Our learning rate. I know you guys, you might receive, you might read rather different books and etc. But please just make use of this formula that I'm giving you. It is quite easy and straightforward. I'm hoping that, why is it here? I'm not able to draw. I will also update my Excel so that I'm able to draw on the screen. It becomes easy for us to learn that way. Okay, I don't want to spend much time here. Right. So what is it that you need to do? So formula that you are going to use this formula here. All right. your formula is going to be open bracket, yeah. Last average from the table divided by outer HBP. First average, first average. Okay, so put these ones, these two, just put them in brackets. Just put these two in brackets. Am I able to do that?
Sorry, sir, to interrupt.
Yes.
If I may ask, the figures you are writing, are they appearing on the screen? Like on my screen is just the graph and like the mouse.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to take down. All right, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to take down this other document and put this one. Thank you. Other guys, are you still awake? Because mawe randafamba makanyarara ikoko ka. Wamatorara. Messi, are you still around, my friends? No. Guys, I'm teaching myself. I know these things, guys. Right?
Well, there was
Confirm.
nothing appearing on the screen. Okay.
So why were you so quiet?
I thought maybe it was my problem, but then I saw you continuing. Then I was like, okay, let me ask.
Say, are you talking?
Sorry. Yes, I'm talking. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Um, all right. So the thing is, when you are calculating the labor learning rate, you make use of a table. Create a table with 4 columns. Number one, output. Your output should be doubling. Time taken to complete a task. Cumulative total time. So cumulative total time is a rolling total. Then we go to the cumulative average time, which is also a rolling average. So the example that we want to have to populate this table is time taken to produce first unit, assuming it's 100 minutes. Total time for 100 minutes, we are going to say 100 times 1. That's 100. Average time, you say your total divided by output. It remains 100 there. So there is a good observation from one of my former students to say that on top there, the time does not change. 100, 100, 100. That was good. And then double 1 to 2. Time taken for the second unit, because from Wright's law, as cumulative output doubles, the time should fall. So this is going to be 90. Total is a rolling total. Previous total plus time taken currently, 190. Then average is 190 divided by number of units to make it 95. We double 2 to 4. Right, time taken to produce the fourth unit is 80. Now, total for 4 units is previous total plus time taken currently, 270. Average is 270 divided by number of units 4 to get 67.5. Now, what is the learning rate? So I was trying to explain this fact that, of course, you see other formulas, but don't follow through those. They are quite confusing. Just follow through this one. Okay. So from your table here, you are going to first of all consider your average times. Please take last average from my table. My last average is this one. That's the one that I'm going to take. Let me highlight that, and then divide by first average. From my averages, first average is 100. I'm going to highlight that. So last average divided by first average. So what I wanted to do was to insert something here so that insert I wanted to insert a bracket so that you guys can copy a formula that is correct. Let me just find, where can I find, okay. I can make use of this one, okay. Right, I'm going to make use of this as a bracket. Please forgive me. Right, this one is going to be my bracket. Here, black, probably for it to be visible, bracket here. Okay, right. I think it makes a little sense if I do that. All right, first average divided by last average. I'm going to again put another bracket here so that it makes sense. Weight, this weight, and then black in terms of color. All right. All right. Oh, well, don't mind the fact that my items are not really equal there. All right. So next thing is you put to the power, right? You raise to the power. Okay, I can raise to the power here. Insert again a symbol of power. Can I get it closely? A power symbol. If I can't, I just use Shift 6. All right. All right, now what? Let me just use Shift 6 to the power. All right. You raise to the power, then open bracket again. I'm going to open another bracket here. Control D to the power. This should be a small bracket now. To the power. Okay. 1 over n minus 1. I'm trying to play around with this one. All right, to the power, right, 1, 16, 16 here. All right, to the power 1 divided by, all right, trying to make it work. All right, to the power 1 over divided by, I don't want you guys to copy wrong things. That's why I'm trying to the power 1 divided by n minus 1 here. All right, here there is a division sign. I should put again here. All right, this should be cool. All right, I'm going to put my division sign. Okay, I'm not so sure if this is visible enough. Can you see?
Yes, we can see it. It's visible.
All right, to the power. I'm trying to improvise here, but well, in our next session, this should be rectified. Okay, right, so that I can just type manually here. I can just write using my hand. Right, I think I've done a good job here. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Now, what is n? N is number of observations. N is your n to the power n minus 1. N is number of observations. Number of observations. Observations on doubling. On doubling output. Okay. So if you are, for example, here we are observing 1, 2, 3. So n is 3 minus 1 to make it 2. Okay. So can we calculate together? Let's calculate together. I'm going to make use of this highlighted area here to calculate the learning rate. Okay. Equals last average. I'm going to open last average is 67.5 divided by first average 100 close to the power open bracket 1 divided by my number of observations are 3 minus 1 2 to the power 2 close enter. So my learning rate in terms of percentage is 82.16. So what does that mean? It means that the employee here is learning at 82.16%. All right. I know we might be interested or might be having questions. So let me have questions. Let me have questions. Digest and ask me some questions before I bring in other questions here. All right. Um, question? Any question? My friends? Okay, I think I have something that makes it interesting. All right. If not, let me, you guys have understood? All right. If you have understood, let me see if this is something that you can solve. Please solve this one for me. Time taken units 1, 2, 4, 8. Cumulative average time. So this is already in total. This is already in total. It's not time taken, it's already in total. So what you need to do is then to calculate the average time and then calculate for me the learning rate. Calculate for me the learning rate. Right? If you're done, please drop your answer in the chat box and then we quickly revise and move on to the next. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for the answers. I'm seeing majorities 86. And then we have Charlene with 64. That's okay. It's good to differ. Right. So let us look at that. And then I'm going to make use of two tables, output, and my output is doubling, output, and then I want my average time. So that is enough for me to calculate my learning rate, okay? Output and average time. So my output is doubling, 1, 2, 4, and 8. All right, and my average time here is equal to 20 divided by 1. So if you are wise and you want to move very quickly, you know that this is a cumulative, or it's already cumulative average time. So it's cumulative average time already, it's an average time. So there was no need for us to do all these things. It's not in total, it's in average state already. So what we need to do is to take the last average is equal to 12.72 divided by first average is 20 close to the power open bracket 1 divided by, I'm observing 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 minus 1, 3. All right, close. That is 85.99, which is 86%. All right, that is key, and I hope you guys got it correct. So what I can do here is I don't want us to just end here, but well, let me give you another example. A worker took 2 hours to produce the first unit. Okay, he got so fast. He got so fast such that after producing 8 units, a total of 11.664 hours, a total of rights were taken. Question, what is the labor learning rate? I think I'm left with another, after we are able to do this, I'm left with one more concept on that one, and then we conclude. We go to the next item in terms of level learning rates. Please try this one. Drop your answer in the chat box. Drop your answer in the chat box so that we can move very quickly. Any answers? Are you still working? Please work through so that we can have answers.
Okay.
All right, are we done? Linda has got 90%. Anyone else with an answer so that we can move forward? Anyone with a different answer? If you're lazy, just to copy Linda's answer, paste it there. Yes, thank you, Munya. That's wise. I know you haven't worked in it. All right, am I still audible? We
Yes,
went
sir.
Thank you. All right, so let us revise this one, then we go to another one that I prepared here. Right, so this worker here, we need to look at the output. So the moment you talk about output, please don't forget doubling. So the output is doubling from 1 to 2 to 4 and to 8. So I want to look at my average. So this is a hint for you to know that in order for us to calculate the labor learning rate, we just need output doubling and average time. Okay. So what I need is average straight away, average time. So for the first unit, we took 2 hours. Total is 2, average is 2 because the first line, if you take 2 hours, time taken 2 hours, total 1 times 2, average, then 2 divided by 1, it remains 2. And then for the second one, I do not have. For the fourth one, I do not have. For the eighth one, I have a total. So for me to get average is equal to the total of 11.664 divided by the number of units, which are 8. I get 1.458. Getting into my formula now, last average divided by first average to the power 1 divided by n minus 1 equals, open bracket, last average is this, divided by first average, this one, close, to the power, open bracket. How many numbers am I observing on my doubling? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 minus 1, that's 3. Oh, 1 divided by 3 plus enter. So I have a learning rate of 90% here, which is correct. To those who tried and got 90%, that is correct. All right. Um, Moving forward, let us look at another question. Let us look at another question. Right. Since we have learned that our output should be doubling in order for us to calculate the learning rate. This is visible, right? Confirm?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Time taken, time taken, time taken. So the time is not doubling. All right, our output is not doubling, and we have time taken. If output, for example, is not doubling, all right, complete the table with what's given. That's first thing. So number one, you have to complete the table. Let me just put it as one here. Complete the table with what's given in the scenario. Then number two, right, choose the doublings only to find a learning rate. That's it, and done. Boom, we are done. So we are going to just make use of these two nodes to find the labor learning rate. Okay, we are going to create our table using whatever that is given. Output. First of all, output time taken, then total time, and then average. We are going to make use of this as our starting point. This is our starting point. Our output is 1, 2, 3, 4 as it is. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4 as it is. Time taken 100, 70, 59. And then we have 55. That's the time taken, right? Total time here is this times this, all right? Average is this divided by that. Enter. Number two, cumulative total, you take the previous total plus current time taken. Then average is equal to 170 divided by output. Enter 85. Total, previous total plus current time. Enter. Average is 229 divided by 3, which are the units. That one. Then finally, we take this plus time taken. Average is this divided by that. I have completed my table as it is. Now, next, I'm going to take my doubles. I want output, and then I take my averages on the doubling only. All right, output, the first one is 1. My average is 100. Put there. Let me just put a table. All right. Right, good one. And then the next doubling is 2. Average for 2 is 85. I skip 3 because 3 is not doubling. I go to 4. 4, I put there. And then I take 71. Then I'm done. I can now calculate my labor learning rate. Here equals last average 71 divided by first average 100 close to the power open bracket. Number of observations are 3 minus 1. I'm left with 2. So my learning rate is 84.26. That is what I have as my learning rate. Okay, so this is what we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. May I please have questions? May I please have questions? Any question? All right, for your practice, you go to Kaplan. First of all, for everything that we've covered, this is the order. First of all, Stud Hub. All questions. All questions on Stud Hub. Number 2, go to Kaplan Kit. All questions. Okay. And then 3, there's a bank, question bank. I would want you to use the question bank 23 to 24. Then number 4, use the GTG bank. All right, so that's the order of priority. And make sure that you exhaust all questions from startup. All right, our next meeting on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Next lecture. Next. And what is it that we are going to cover? Number 1, we want to finish issue of finishing labor learning rates. We want to look at the equation approach. All right, that's in terms of finding the learning rate, we are done. We want to find now time taken to produce a certain unit. After that, we would want then to quickly jump over and look at ABC costing. ABC costing. After that, we want to then, I'm not so sure. What is it that we looked at first? Those who attended the Saturday lecture, we first looked at what? Which topic? I don't still remember. Munyarazi. Okay. These guys are gone. I'm yet to confirm on the next topic because I'll just confirm that after.
I think that was throughput accounting.
Thank you. That was throughput accounting. All right, thank you. Throughput accounting. So this is what we are going to be looking at on Wednesday, and I know we might need to meet again on Friday or any day before Monday, so that we look at relevant costing and then we are at par with the weekend class. All right. If there is no further question, may I please say a good night. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
sir. Good night. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.